Recording's fine. Okay, it's recording. I see it.
See, I didn't even get to ask. Now I'm disappointed. We gotta stop. All right. Now,
okay.
now this is good. Here we are on The Blind Man in Black, and I'm here with Merrill Davis, actress. Do you say actor or actress? What do you prefer?
I think these days, I think we say actor.
Okay.
But I don't
actor.
know. I mean, I really think comedian is probably more accurate.
Can you let me do the introduction, please?
Sure,
Please,
sure.
please, please. So, yeah, comedian. I'm sorry, comic.
Yes.
I know you write. You do many things. We have so many things to discuss. We went to Cal Arts together.
Yep.
We've been through a lot together, and yeah, I'm sure there's so many things I don't even know what you're. I don't know what you're doing. When's the last time I saw you?
I don't know. Probably graduation.
No.
Oh no. I saw you weren't you at Robert's? Were you at Robert's memorial?
I was not. For those listening and watching, a friend of ours from Cal Arts was murdered in 2019 or 2018.
2018, I think.
Yeah. And actually, Sarah Louise Wilson on episode 5, we discussed that a little bit, and it was yeah, that was intense. That was really, he was such a gentle, kind, loving man, and it was really heartbreaking to hear about that.
It was.
But
it was for sure.
Now I don't even know where to go with this one.
You were saying I'm a comedian.
Yes, you're a comedian, and we should let everybody know that this is November 5th, and we still don't have a president. What's going on? Can you see on your phone right now what's happening?
Well, I'm also looking. What I can do is I can have it in the background and keep you updated. Let's see if this works. Now you're gonna see my house. Hold on. I have it on. I have it on at all times. I'm obsessed.
Okay.
I think it's. I can sort of give you an idea of what's going on. See, look, this is what. See,
I can't see shit, but you can tell everybody else everybody else can see it.
Okay. Oh, so can you see me okay? You have good lighting and whatnot?
I literally can't see anything. I'm totally blind.
You're supposed to be blind for the interview?
Yeah, specifically, this is just a shtick. That's the blind thing.
Are you now blind? Is that?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
What?
Really?
No. You're
yes. Blind? This is a major revelation we're having on the podcast. Yes, I don't know if you were aware of this. When I was at Cal Arts, I didn't really talk about it much. I had some incidents like in shows and I had to bring it up, but I didn't really discuss it. I have a rare genetic disease called Usher syndrome type 2A, and it causes blindness and deafness. And I do have hearing loss. You probably saw my hearing devices when we were at Cal Arts.
I do remember that. You didn't talk about that. I do remember that. But
well, I was in denial. I didn't really want to talk about it. I wanted to be able-bodied. But we didn't say that term back then, able-bodied. It was just normal. Yeah. Whatever the fuck that means.
Right. That's so crazy. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I mean, like right now I was like, why is he wearing sunglasses? You know, like I literally was like, is that part of the shtick?
No, well, I mean,
asshole.
I mean, no. The reason actually I wear the sunglasses because there's so much visual noise. It's like, it's distracting and I can't listen. I've done a few episodes without the sunglasses, and I noticed I got distracted by the visual noise in my my field of shit. So I just started wearing them just so I could concentrate. Yeah. So I have this rare genetic degenerative disease, and it's like in the last year it's gotten really bad. I stopped driving in July of 2008. I probably could have driven for a couple more years, but then I said, I do not want to stop driving because I injure or kill another human being. So I decided to stop early. And
Oh
then,
my God, I had no idea. I'm so sorry.
it's all right. It's all right.
No, I hate that I didn't know. I feel like an idiot for
Well,
not.
I realized that I am not talked about amongst our circle.
Well, to be honest, I don't really talk. I mean, like I have um social media, likes and I'd say Sarah Wilson is one of my closest friends in general, but definitely out of Cal Arts, she's my closest friend. And
Right.
we don't talk like on a regular basis, but it's one of those things that when we do talk, we really love each other. We spend a lot of time together at school. Um,
Hmm.
and also, she was out of the country for a little while there. But as far as, the circle, depending on what circle it is, the only, really the only people I've stayed in touch with for the most part have been like Sarah, sometimes Brian Buckley, just because I know someone else who knows him besides Sarah.
He's going to be on next week.
Oh, nice. He's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
And so really, there's not enough talking in general to also then talk about, other people. And the last time we talked about anybody, it was Robert. And that's because I was there at the memorial.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to go to that, but I had just started working and I was not able to get away. But
Yeah.
but let's get into this. I want to know about you. There's a lot I don't know. I
Yeah.
remember when you came to Cal Arts, you were married, weren't you?
No, I was never married. I'm still
But
not married.
you were like in a deep relationship though. I
Yeah.
remember, and you were in like the master's program and then you switched, right?
No. I'll tell you, but what's really funny is that I didn't know huge things about you, and you knew things about me, but anyway, I'll clear it up. So my relationship I was in uh before we applied to Cal Arts, was when I was living in Austin, Texas, and I met him there in a theater program, and it was not a healthy relationship.
I was just about to say that I feel like there was something odd going on there.
Yeah, he was not a good person. Well, he was just a very angry, unsettled, unstable person. So
That's
anyway,
like everybody in our theater class.
well, the beauty of this whole thing is that if it weren't for him, I probably wouldn't have applied or gone to Cal Arts. So I'm grateful, as they say, some things are meant to be, and they're not always the best way there, or you don't know why that happened. And then you look back and you go, oh, okay. So it was a terrible relationship, but I went to Cal Arts and I would never change that for a thing. He's the one who encouraged me to apply, and he was very supportive in that way.
Is
But
he in the master's program?
he applied and got into the master's program. I applied for the master's, but I was only accepted into the undergrad. Actually, what happened was Fran Bennett said, "You look so young, and you don't have a lot of theater experience, and we think that you would benefit from another year. So we would like to accept you into the undergrad program," which my parents, of course, were so pissed about. But I wanted to act so badly that I said, I don't give a fuck if it's like 5, 6, 7 years. I'm sure I'll be better with all the time I have there. So I just did it. Now I have 2 undergraduate degrees. But I don't need a master's. I mean, maybe I will after we go into an apocalypse, but I'd never really planned on teaching. So who knows? Maybe I will down the road. So that's the story. And then what happened was he went into the master's program. I went into undergrad, and we were going to live together when we first moved out here from Texas. And I don't know. We found a really beautiful place actually that was really big, and it was really nice. And like I I mean, anyone who knows me knows that I love beauty, I love beautiful things, I love fashion, I love to shop. Like I would have just like decorated the hell out of that place. But we went in and we were having lunch and we were looking around, and I just got this gut feeling that it wasn't right. And I just thought, I can't live with this guy. This is gonna be like a huge commitment. I'm going to theater school now. I just need to explore what this new chapter of my life is gonna be like. And it just didn't feel like our relationship was gonna go along with it. And then it really devolved from there to a place where it got really bad and I had to get a restraining order. It was a bummer. And Alan I can't.
Loaiza, yeah.
That's it. He stayed on my sofa a couple of times to make sure that that he didn't, he came over even though there was restraining order, but I would get scared, and I don't know
Did
how
did
it
he
happened,
did
but
he get dropped from the program?
yeah. So then he was so like angry and so rude to his classmates, and that was like a completely separate from me. I don't even think they knew what was going on with us. um but he was contentious and rude and not a team player, and so they kicked him out of the program. So
And now he's an advisor for the Trump administration, I hear.
probably no. I think he yeah, I don't know. We didn't stay in touch. I didn't stay in touch with him. And he was just a very angry, unsettled person. And I think he had like some kind of mental thing. I mean, I'm not putting him down. I have several. I'll list them for you. I'm on meds for them, and it's the best. It's changing my life. But
I'm
yeah,
looking forward to getting into that because I did not know that about you.
yeah, I was a mess at CalArts. A mess. Oh,
No,
yes, I was.
no.
I could have cried probably 24/7 there. I was so depressed. I was so anxious.
Really? You
Absolutely.
hit it well.
Oh, I feel like I didn't. But I'm glad that you said that because I kept
Well,
thinking,
I mean, my memory of you is always you were always smiling and laughing and
really?
having fun and that's my memory of you
Oh, well, that's a
is
good
just
thing.
like pure joy all the time. I guess my perception was off. I did remember.
No, that's probably a good perception. I mean, sometimes the saddest people are covering it up,
Tr-
comedians especially.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I remember it seemed like I remember all that peripheral because I didn't really know you that well and we weren't in the same because our group was split up,
In the
remember?
first year. Yeah.
Yeah, so we weren't together that much
Right.
except
First year
for like movement and different things, but
until second
um
year.
and I remember you had an incident in that.
In second year?
No, it was the
Oh, in
first
first
year.
year. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We had a weird 50-something-year-old in our class, which made no fucking sense to begin with. He should not be doing movement with way younger students. Some of which who were like, what, 18? I don't know how old Lindsay was, but she was definitely, I mean, I was like 26. I was
Right.
already older than everybody, which is so funny because thinking about it now, I wasn't really that old, but for some reason I felt so old because I'd already gotten a college degree and
Right.
everybody was so much younger than me. At least it felt like that. Now it doesn't feel like that at all. Now it feels like we're all kind of in the same. I'm still older, obviously, but I don't feel like I'm that much older.
I
Um,
feel like I'm 90, so
oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I'm a witch. I've been alive for like 200 years. Anyway,
Wow,
so
let's talk about that.
I know, right? Well, anyway, I'll just get to the point, which was basically, and it wasn't just me, but when we did these like close your eyes, like movement classes where we
Yeah,
were,
we it was basically you had to close your eyes and fondle each other.
well, yeah, basically, but I think you were supposed to have like a trust thing, and it was meant to not be, it was meant to be in a theatrical way, obviously, and
Yeah, it was
that
like
guy,
exploring space
body,
and yeah, but it was supposed
or
to be non-sexual.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So then it turns out that they have this like rando who does not belong in our class, is a writer to begin with, shouldn't even be in the acting program. Plus he's like, a grandpa, probably not because he's a pedophile, but he was just like, touch, like literally in the thing was literally like going like this across my breast. Like it was crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of course. Why would I make a thing
See,
of it?
by the way, I didn't know what happened, and I don't think I knew it was you. I just made the assumption.
Right.
I don't,
Well,
I don't,
it wasn't just me. I mean,
oh, it was others as
the
well.
shitty part about it all was, when you're older and you're not afraid to say something,
Mm.
which I was never afraid to say anything in the program. I think that's just because of the way I was raised, but I found out much later, after I went through the fucking war by myself as the only soldier,
Mm.
that I wasn't the only one. And I remember,
Really?
yeah, I remember Lindsay and Waleed like speaking up much later and saying, "Thank you so much for saying something." And I was like, "Thank you for saying nothing." Like I was the only person, and it was really, really hard. And
See, that I did not know. I heard it was one person and that was it. Yeah.
I was the only person. What happened was, it happened multiple times, and I got to the point where I was like, I'm not fucking comfortable with this anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that I had to like, question it after it happened a few times is not okay. But then when I told Anita, Kazadian, something, I can't remember her last name right now, but Anita, my teacher, and
Mhm.
then this guy who was like a Diavolo something movement guy, dancer, Nick, I think his name was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't, they didn't believe me. It was not Me Too movement yet. There was no
Yeah.
hashtag Me Too yet. So
It was like the 1950s of the 90s.
they
Yeah.
definitely did not back me up. They did not treat me right. They did something really fucked up, which is they had us get in a circle with him there. Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Where we had to talk about it. So it was really awkward and really awful. And then I went to, I don't know how it ended up being this way. I'm not sure if I initiated it or the teachers did, but I went to Fran, and Susan Salt was there at that time. And I went into them and I said, "I'm not staying at Cal Arts unless you get rid of this gross pedophile guy. Like he's touched me. I'm sure he's touched others. They're not speaking. I'm the only one speaking, and this is not okay." I said,
For those listening, Fran and Susan were, Fran was the head of acting, dean of acting, and Susan was the dean of the theater school.
yeah. Yep. So I think he got kicked out or removed. I don't know what happened, but I didn't have to see him again, thank God. It was gross. It was awful. Now that I know what I know, I would have kicked him in the balls. But
I think that what they did was like the priest thing. They just moved him to a different program.
I think that's what they did,
Yeah.
which is also gross. So that he could then fondle someone else. In writing, I don't know how you
Well, I
would,
think he might have been the only one in the program, so he had to fondle himself. So that was it.
I don't know how or why he was there, but whatever. So,
Well, I think he was an established playwright.
oh, well,
Yeah.
and apparently an established sexual assaulter.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so sorry you had to go through that, and I'm sorry I mentioned it.
No, it doesn't. I don't mind talking about it because I'll
Mhm.
tell you, that wasn't the first time, and that wasn't the last time. And it
You
means
mean in Cal Arts?
it means I'm good looking, and that's what it is. No, I'm kidding. No, it didn't happen again at Cal Arts, thank God. I had some brief like flirtations with with people that I was mutual with, but No, nothing ever happened again there. And then after I graduated, I dated some more bozos because I love the bozos. Not now. I have a wonderful, wonderful, amazing guy now who's a lamb. He really is. He's wonderful. But
How long have you been together?
oh, so I say 4 years because I count the on and off parts,
Okay.
because we were doing it and we were spending a lot of time together. And to me, that counts. Um, it's like when they say the tip counts or whatever.
Hmm.
But anyway, so he counts it as 3 years. I count it as 4 years. Um, but if you look at it in, internet time, it's been 1,000 years. So no, it's great. I'm really happy. I think things are moving along, and we definitely want to do family things and future things and ring things, and so we'll see.
That's
But
awesome. Well, we'll get into that, but I want to go back. I want to go way back. I want to
okay,
go back to the beginning.
I love way back. I'm ready for it.
Let's go. Where did it all begin?
Which part?
You.
Me? Well,
Yeah.
I was born in Miami.
The genesis.
You want to know like from the womb, or you want to know from the city I was born in, or which one?
Wherever you feel most comfortable beginning.
All right. Well, I'll say I was born in Miami, Florida. Don't tell anyone. It's a horrible state.
Why does everybody dislike Florida? I haven't been there, so I don't. But everybody who's lived there said it's horrible, and everybody, it's all the comedians always say make jokes about Florida. What's the deal with Florida?
Well, there's always a news story to begin with. Anyone who's not lived there but just reads about it. There's always like a Florida man eats a person. It's like it's always the craziest headline you can think of. It's already a Florida man. So this has become a thing. Now it's like an Ohio man. There's other states where, it's some crazy person doing something crazy or murdering someone. But I don't know. I think it's beautiful there. I love it. I love the smell. It's like being on an island, so you can smell the seawater. Not all the time, not totally inland, but as you get closer to the ocean. Whereas out here in LA, like you could even be walking towards the beach and you can still not smell the ocean. It's a very poignant smell in Florida. I mean, a nice one. And there's the hot summer nights, and there's a lot of fresh fish, and it's easier to swim there because the water is always warm. So there's a lot of positives in that regard. But as far as like the people, when I was growing up there, it just didn't feel like the importance was on learning, culture, diversity, like all the things that really matter to me. If I had my druthers, I would have grown up in New York City. But there are positives to it. I think the hard part for me, I'm not really sure about other people. I can say that there is a lot of violence there. I'm not really sure if it's because it's so fucking hot that people just want to kill each other. I mean, it does get really fucking hot. And the thing is, here,
It's the humidity that makes it
that's
unbearable.
Yeah. Totally. And you don't have that here. You have like a nice cool breeze.
Dry. It's a dry heat.
And that saves us. That's why we haven't killed each other. But in Miami, I think the thing was like, it is. It's hot. Everyone's hot headed. They're dumb. I mean, there's a lot of dumb people there. Not everyone's dumb, but like there's a lot of dumb people. I mean, like right now, just a couple days ago, maybe it was last week, but Trump was doing a rally in Florida and in Miami, I think even, and the people were like, "Fire Fauci, fire Fauci," and it's like, are you out of your fucking mind? Fire.
Have you been to Mar-a-Lago, by the way?
Yes.
What is it like?
My parents were members.
Really?
My parents were like Republican, inner circle. The inner circle is like.
Have they met Trump?
I met him.
Holy shit. When did that happen?
My parents were members and they took me there for my birthday one year. I think I was like I think I was at Cal Arts at that point. I think I was either 27 or 28. I can't remember, but I can ask my mom. And he just used to walk around like the dining room and say, talk to people at the table, say hello.
Like a maitre d'?
Like a maitre d'. Exactly.
It's like, are you enjoying your food?
Yeah.
Did he do that or what?
No, he just said hello, introduced himself, and
did he put a Tic Tac in his mouth before he talked to you?
No, he did not. He didn't seem remotely interested in talking to us at all, but he did.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he just sort of like seemed like, well, this is what I do. I go around, these people are paying money to be members. I'm going to go around and say hi to people. But, he didn't seem like the monster that he is now, for sure. I would have had no idea that this person was going to run for president and then destroy America, like 50% of it. So maybe more.
Charlie Sheen tells this story about, I think he was married to Denise. He just married Denise Richards.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump was like, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't go to your wedding or whatever. And Charlie Sheen was like, I didn't invite you. And then the other thing was, he's like, oh, and he's like, I want to give you something. And he had these Harry Winston cufflinks and he handed them to Charlie Sheen, right? Mm-hmm. So years later, when Denise Richards and Charlie Sheen got divorced, he was like going, trying to divide the assets and things like that. And he got these cufflinks of praise and they were fake.
Mm-hmm. I've heard this story.
Oh yeah.
I'm not surprised. And the other thing I was going to tell you really quick, not to put a pin in your balloon, it's a good story, but is that my dad actually, both my parents decided to end their membership there. And, Trump still owed my parents money and he never paid money. So we know firsthand that he doesn't pay people back. And it's not a secret, that he's like that. But for the longest time, I didn't tell people that. I think because, I had no idea that he was going to be like Hitler 2.0. And like, that's not what you want to tell people. Like, I grew up in a Republican household. My mom was basically Trump. No, totally. She's a total narcissist. She's a fucking crazy person. Like, these kind of people, these narcissists are so bad. What they do is they just create a lot of chaos, a lot of disaster, and then they bolt. They don't do any of the cleaning up part. You're stuck with the cleaning up. And then while you're cleaning up, they gaslight you and make you feel like they didn't do shit. So I grew up with this stuff. I mean, I should be like, a pro by now, and I should be able to handle this, but I don't really think there's ever a time when you can totally deal with a narcissistic, sociopathic type of person, because it's like talking to a drunk person. They're not present. They're not going to hear you. If it's not about them, they don't want to hear shit. And when it is about them, it better be good. And, if I fought my mom on anything she said or did, I got killed. So my mom took a knife to me once.
Holy
I'm not
shit.
even making that up. Yeah.
Well, what was that about? What happened?
I was in my junior year of high school. I had been sent off to a all girls, I grew up Jewish, but I have been sent off to an all girls Catholic boarding school where I had to go to mass every Wednesday. Meanwhile, I'd been bat mitzvahed. There's a reason I'm a comedian, Brian.
Why did they send you to a Catholic school?
Well, I guess freshman year, I really wanted to be popular, and I was in a co-ed school. And even though I was actually already somewhat popular because I was a cheerleader, I don't know. I just thought if I did something really like radical, they would think I was like really cool. But I also think it was just because I didn't study for this one test. So I cheated on my test in 9th grade, and I'm really bad. Like, I'm a terrible liar, which is, I don't know if that's a good thing as an actor, but I'm a terrible liar. And I am really bad at like if I tried to be a criminal, I'd be a horrible criminal. Like I can't steal. My face would turn red. I'm really bad at lying. And when I tried to be like a badass and cheat, I literally did this. I got up and I looked over and the teacher was sitting at the desk, like right across. He like saw me get it. It's not like I did this kind of thing where I was so blind. See, I've been blind since I was 4. So
we have that in common.
We have that in common.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got caught. They were going to kick me out of school. They were going to expel me and then they were going to put it on my record. And my mom, like, because my mom was such a psycho, I'm surprised she didn't just throw me off a bridge. But she actually was really, the first day that I got in trouble and went home, she gave me like a piece of chocolate cake, which was so random, but still love it. Still love chocolate cake. But then a couple of weeks later, I guess she'd been asking around like about boarding schools or places where I could go that were like more structured. And I think at the time, my mom, neither of my parents knew that I had ADHD. And, back then just wasn't, and even now, like my mom still doesn't think it's a real thing. Like she's just like, what? Like, my dad was a brain surgeon. He passed away last year. And
my condolences.
Thank you. With all of his like years of expertise, and he was a brilliant brain surgeon, they didn't incorporate the mental health part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's crazy because there's so much there and we're still learning. There's a lot we're learning, but I definitely have had it my whole life. There's no question. It makes so much sense. And it's also like unbelievable to me that I've graduated from any school at all. And I've got 2 college degrees. I'm like, how did I even do that? Like, I couldn't see. I mean, I'm nearsighted and farsighted. I've always struggled with my eyes my whole life. That affected my reading comprehension because I had to read really slow. Then I had the ADHD and I get distracted, so I have to read it again. And, these are things my parents didn't even know. So in a twist of fate, once again, like CalArts ending up with a guy with a restraining order, but then I end up going to CalArts, which is incredible. Still can't believe that happened. What?
No, I was just going to say, do you think there was like a parallel? Like, would you consider him a narcissist? The
boyfriend?
Yeah.
No, no. I think he just had like real anger issues. I think he hated his mom and he had made no peace with it. He didn't really know what to do with it. Again, we're like at that point, we're in the 90s. It's still not, mental health central yet. But what I'm saying is that there's a lot of silver lining that comes out of these experiences. First of all, I have a lot of stories. That's a silver lining that I can tell you. But also the other silver lining was I was enrolled into an all-girls Catholic, Jesuit Catholic. I had to wear a uniform. And honestly, and I lived at school most of the time, even though my school was in Palm Beach and we lived in Miami. Actually, we moved to Boca. So I was only a half an hour away from home.
Right.
But I got to tell you, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I mean, my mom was a terror. She is a crazy person and she was really bad for me. Different kids sort of survive child abuse in different ways. It wasn't going to happen for me. So it was wonderful what a gift that it was for me to be able to live at school with a structured school schedule, a study hour. I met some of the most amazing girls from all over the world. I mean, granted, their parents were rich. They could put a private, they could put a girl in private school. But I had, friends from Venezuela, and I had a friend from Washington, D.C. I mean, that was a big deal when I was in 10th grade. I had friends from, Trinidad and Puerto Rico and all around. I mean, it was really cool. Cuba. So that was the best. And I met my best friend, my lifelong best friend at that school. And also for a second there, I was like, maybe I should be Catholic. I like this. I feel at home here. I like this peace be with you thing at the end of but and then I did go to confession. I had to one time. We had a confessional, and I didn't know what to say because I'm not Catholic. I was just bat mitzvahed a couple
So
years
you just had double guilt. You had double the
ago.
guilt.
Like 5 times. With my parents, forget it. And then my mom was Southern Baptist. I mean, she was like, I'm gonna beat you to a pulp. Anyway, I go into the confessional and I say to the priest, I say, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I said, forgive me, Father, for I am Jewish. And I said, and he was just like, what? Like he looked out of the thing to look at me, and I was like, I'm not kidding, I'm really Jewish. So there were only 2 Jewish kids in school, and I mean that's a big deal that there were even 2 or 1. And then my best friend was Muslim, and she's really mostly been raised Catholic now, but like her dad was from Saudi Arabia, her mom was from Germany, and 2 places that hate Jews. And we became best friends for life. And so all of these experiences, like I said, like the Cal Arts one, my school was named Rosarian Academy. And because of that school, I met some really amazing people, and I really found my personality there. I wasn't really allowed to have fun in my house. I wasn't. Even now, even if I call my mom now, she will put a pin in my balloon if I am dumb enough to get in the mood to tell her stuff. Like I have to be very careful what I share. And it's a bummer, it's like a Jekyll Hyde situation. I don't know if she's bipolar or what she has. She's never been diagnosed, but she definitely has a bunch of shit. I know she has post-traumatic stress disorder because she then gave it to me. But I know she has it. And she grew up in a very, very violent home. She had a lot of shit go down. And I think it was really hard for her to cut that violence and abuse off 100%, because in her mind, if she was marrying a Jewish doctor who was stable and 10 years older, in her mind, she thought, well, I'm going to give my children what I didn't have. I'm going to give them a dad who's wealthy and who can pay for things. But again, like mental health, emotional health, emotional health, like emotional intelligence, like none of that was important. And so, I really got the worst of it. I was the middle child. I didn't want anyone to fight. I didn't want, if my sister got in trouble, I'd be like, hit me, hit me. I want her to get hurt. I would rather get hit or hurt than see my sibling cry and get hurt. I couldn't handle it. And, it wasn't like this on a daily basis, but the chaos was often the the way Trump is so like up our vaginas and our assholes, like you can't get rid of him. He's just all in you and he's just gross. And, I hope I never see his face again. It's sadly was a little bit like that living with my mom, where like, like it's my way or the highway. Like if you don't do what she says, you're fucked. And if she does hit you and you lash out, then she's like, you're the bad one. You can't win, basically. And she came to Cal Arts, and we got in a huge fight there. And so I think the thing is, like, I have a lot of friends, and even my therapist has asked, why do you still talk to her? Why is she still in your life? Which is an excellent question. And by the way, I feel completely comfortable sharing all this with you. I'm a grown woman now. I think it's really important to talk about. We don't talk about domestic violence enough. It's a huge problem. Um, we don't talk about mental health enough. I feel like we're starting to finally. But, those are like really painful yet like abundant fodder for my comedy. And it took me years, really, truly years to process all of it. So some of it isn't quite funny yet because a lot of it I'm still processing. But like, how you said, like, I seem really happy at CalArts. I didn't know how much pain I was actually in. I was in so much pain. And getting up every day was like, what did I say yesterday? What did I do last night? Like I was constantly anxious. I was constantly worried that I said something weird. I was constantly worried I did something weird. And a lot of times I did. Because I was told a lot in so many words, you can't do it. You can't do that. You can't do that. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're a loser. Well, you're going to need help with that. Well, you're going to need to get married young. Well, our Beth is very slow. By the way, my first name is Beth, which you know.
I wasn't sure if I should mention that.
That's fine. You can literally, there's nothing that I have nothing to hide. And believe me, that is the biggest freedom that anyone can have. I have nothing to hide anymore. I was always like, I'll tell everybody I'm 24 until I'm like 100. Because, I'd say the only thing I was really insecure about forever was my age, just because, with Fran, it kind of started with Fran because she was just like, you look so young and we should put you in the undergraduate program. And because when you graduate, you're getting an agent right away. You'll be ready to go. And she was right. That's exactly what happened. But then I kept spending, every time in my life as an actor, as a comedian, as anything. Oh, I got on IMDb. I got to lie about my age. It was just, I got such a complex about it. And the main reason was because I didn't love myself enough to say, it doesn't matter how old you are when you make it. All that matters is you're still doing it. If you're doing it, you've made it. You're doing what you love. That's it. That's it. You making money from it. I want to get to the point where I'm really making a living from it. I would love to be on the cover of Vogue, but that's not like my main goal. Like that would be nice, but it's really, I want to buy a house. I want to be able to travel wherever I want once this fucking nightmare ends. And so, yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I really have nothing to hide. I've been through a lot. I love myself a lot. It took a long time to get there, a long time. I didn't even know what the fuck it meant. When my therapists were like, you have to love yourself. I'm like, what does that even mean? Or you have to give yourself the love you didn't get from your mom or your dad, like the kind of love. Because they did love me, of course. My mom's still alive. She loves me in her way, in her crazy ass way. But I didn't understand what giving yourself that love meant because I'd never done that for myself. So I was like, I don't know what the fuck this means. But in the last 2-3 years, I've been in like really intense therapy. I met my therapist in New York. He's changed my life. He diagnosed me. I have all sorts of fun shit. And I'm taking a cocktail every day, and it's just changed my life. When anyone says like, oh, but there's a stigma with meds, I'm like, do you want to feel good? Or do you want to say, do you want to feel like shit every day and be like, what do? I feel awful. Like I did that for so long. And one of the biggest things was at CalArts, because I was so terrified. I was terrified, Brian, to be there. I was so terrified I'd be horrible. I was so terrified that every time I acted, I was horrible. I was terrified just the whole time that I was a failure and that I couldn't do this. And my you know, my parents were like, oh, that's great. But they weren't like, our daughter's at Cal Arts. Like, how fucking cool is that? Like, it was a cool thing. It was a big deal to get in there. And anyway, I've really done the work, and I really love myself now. And it's honestly, that's the wealthiest too that I could be, is like doing what I love and loving myself. And now I can love others. Now I can give myself to others. I still struggle with that with my mom. It's a big struggle. It's hard to love someone who makes you feel horrible. It's hard to love somebody who's kind of your kryptonite. But like I'm Superman. But yeah, so I'm giving you way too long of a statement to say that I have nothing to hide, and I'm happy to share whatever it is.
That's beautiful. I mean, that's what this show is about loving beyond one's fears. And I'm so appreciative that you're so being so vulnerable and sharing all of this. I do want to go back a little bit to the knife.
That's
because
fine.
I feel like I missed something with the knife. And then I also want to hear, how did your father react to that?
Okay, so to answer your question, okay, so I was a junior in high school. I was still at Rosarian, but sometimes I would stay at home on the weekends. So I guess this particular weekend I was home. And I think maybe one semester I was home. I can't remember. But anyway, so I went out with friends, and she said curfew was at 11, and I did not get home until 11:30. Now, at that time, we obviously did not have cell phones. I couldn't text her. I couldn't let her know I'm okay.
But it's only a half hour. I get an hour.
In my family, they literally said to us, and I'm not making any of this up because it's going to sound like I am, but because my father was at one point on call 24/7, if he had to get up at 3 a.m. to go to the hospital to take a bullet out of somebody's brain, we were not allowed to wake them up. Like, it was sacred. So imagine being a kid. I mean, like a kid though. And you can't wake up your parents.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, these days, that to me, that's insane. Like, you have to. You're a kid.
Yeah.
You chose to have children. That's what you chose. We're not fucking pawns in your fucking king and queen court. We're like fucking children. So they used to say to us all the time, like, if you don't call unless you're dead, do not call and wake us up unless you're dead.
Which you couldn't do, ironically. Yeah.
We'd be dead. So anyway, I get home at 11:30. I see her, like, okay, so some of this is fuzzy, of course, because it's traumatic.
Is there alcohol involved?
No. I think my mom is probably a dry alcoholic. Mm-hmm. Her behavior is very alcoholic-like, but mm-hmm. She does drink, but she didn't drink like all day or every night, like, not at all. But her behavior, very, very alcohol behavior. Like, my sister and I go to Al-Anon. That's right. So, but she was standing. So we used to have a house where there was a door, and then on one side you could see there was a panel, like a window, right? A tall one. So she's standing in the window. This is why I hated horror movies too for the longest time, because my mom was a fucking horror movie. So she's standing in the window with a white nightgown, staring, looking really fucking pissed, like she's going to murder me. And I park the car, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm so fucked. I'm so dead, because I just saw her like that. And I'm too scared. Like, I should have just gotten back in the car and drove to Alaska. So I go in, I knock on the door, and she says to me, as soon as she opens the door, she says, if you're going to stay out after past curfew and get yourself killed, I'll just kill you myself.
Whoa.
Literally, like, fucking crazy. Like, I remember that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Imagine growing up with that kind of craziness. Imagine. You'd be on a lot of meds too. I
I'm
don't
imagining. I mean,
know.
I can see it very clearly in my mind. Yeah, that's some insane shit. So what happened after that?
And I want to write a book about it, by the way, but I don't know how you make child abuse funny, but I'm working on it. So so she's like, I'm gonna go get a knife. And I was like, okay. In one of my jokes
So
was,
did you believe her because your tone right there was like, all right, I don't go do it,
I
but
just
you didn't believe
couldn't,
it.
I just couldn't believe, I think I was just in shock, but at the same time, my mom had been abusive up until that point. I'm 16 now, and it's almost like not, I might have been 17 actually, 16 or 17. And it's actually not at this point, it's sort of like, oh God, what's this one gonna be like?
Right.
You know? Um, because like already we woke her up from a nap after she'd been in a car accident, and she told us to be quiet. I think I was like 8. My sister, oh no, 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 no. I was much older than that. I was like probably 12 or 13. And my sister was like 8 or 9 or something like that. And she came into the room and bit us like Cujo, like straight up
What?
bit us. And yeah, like it was crazy. It was I had a
What
crazy fucking childhood.
was there any like preamble to this, or was it just you were sleeping and
No,
just
this was a separate, this is a separate story. So I'm sorry
no
if
no
that,
no, I know that, but I mean, was there any? Did she just come? Were you? What were you? I
no,
gotta
she
know.
warned us. She said, I'm taking a nap, keep it down, basically. Um, and I don't remember, you know, why we were loud. I mean, the only thing I can imagine is like I nanny and the kids get really fucking loud and they don't know they're being loud. They're just kids, and you're like, "Can you keep it down?" But with my mom, she had recently been in a car accident. One thing, she's still wearing a neck brace. I shouldn't be laughing. It was really bad. And like the
She
way,
bit you with a neck brace on?
I don't know if she had the neck brace on. I can't remember that part.
Okay, all right.
Those details are super fuzzy. Like, let's go back to the knife story. Like, you know,
There's okay, yeah, please do. Go
she
ahead.
goes into the kitchen to get a knife, comes back out, and she's got a knife. And this is where, trauma, I think the body and, your brain, which I should have gone into brain neurology after my dad was a brain surgeon, but um and after all the trauma that I incurred. But I think what happens is, and I haven't done the research on it, and I will after this, is I think that you, as a survival mechanism, your brain just shuts down. Like, like you have to survive, right? So, those details are going to be fuzzy, or in some cases with my sister, she's completely forgotten things. So it's however you process the pain, however you survive, how you have to survive. For me, comedy and acting has saved my life. If I didn't have those outlets, I'd probably be in jail, um, because I was very, very angry for a very long time. And if I didn't have the meds, and the support I have now, I wouldn't have the life I have now. I wouldn't have my partner, that's for sure. And it's been a learning curve, like I had to like learn how to not slam doors and not yell at my exes and not create havoc and not attract the same kind of person, and then not yell and get in fights for no reason because I think he doesn't love me because he doesn't tell me enough. That it's been a huge shift, and I'm really proud of myself. And one of the reasons I haven't had children, and one of the main reasons, is because no one asked me to marry them, but or asked me to. But the timing has been great because I really would never have been ready. And if I do it now, I'm going to be in therapy twice a week for sure, just to like work out these kinks because I'm scared to death. But I would never have been able to do it before without killing my own child. You know, it just like perpetuates it's just perpetuates. And my brother, he has 3 kids now. My sister has 2. And my sister's been really open with me. She's like, we're close now. We used to hate each other. And she's like, I can't tell you how hard it is. Sometimes I just want to punch him in the face. And I just don't. I don't, but I can't tell you how hard it is. I will want to, and I have to stop myself. And, you know, I'm sure there's some truth to parents who don't do stuff like that and didn't grow up like that they want to be like, can I leave you outside for a few hours? I need a break. But the way my mom handled, you know, us was so, she really couldn't do it. She couldn't do it. So she comes back with a knife, and the only thing I remember is that somehow I end up on the floor, and I did not get stabbed, but I somehow end up on the floor. And the only thing I remember is somehow my skirt got cut, and I was wearing one of those, like, it was either leather or like faux leather. I think it was like a faux leather skirt. I don't know if I have, like, you know, I think I have an excellent memory, but a lot of the time I wonder if, like, I don't remember showing you guys any nude photos. So I definitely forget things. So, you know, that's a fuzzy, where it goes from there, I don't know. I remember her saying it. I kind of remember her doing it. And I remember waking up shaking and being just terrified. And she really created a home of terror. I was scared all the time. We were all scared. But all the bad things that happened, it wasn't like a weekly, like, you know, I'm going to put a cigarette in your arm. It was like, it was more like anytime there was a massive blowout or something major, it was major. You know, it was never like, oh, it's a small fight and we're going to get over it. It was like, if there was like a major thing that went wrong and we got her on the wrong day, you know, it was like death becomes you. But I survived it. I don't know how. I honestly don't know how, but thank God
Comedy.
Thank God for comedy. Thank God for acting. But yeah, I was underneath it all at CalArts. I was absolutely terrified, and I had no support. You know, I didn't have really any real support from my parents. I had
I
no
feel so fucking bad now that there was all this underlying shit that I was totally unaware of.
But I didn't know what was going on with you either. You know, we were young. Like, honestly, like, when you grow up in a abusive home, 26 is like 20. You know what I mean? Like, you have
Yeah.
years taken away from you. You get years stolen from you because you
Yeah.
can't function like a normal person.
I remember that you were anxious. I do remember that, but I always remembered there was the smile on top of it, you know, and it's just amazing that we didn't, you know, I remember talking about your father a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't remember you talking about your mother, but I didn't know all this underlying trauma was there.
Okay. I didn't, honestly, I really hadn't.
Why didn't you, wait a minute. Why didn't you ever do, did you do a sense memory when we were in Lou Palter's class about any of this?
I don't know if I did. I hadn't really processed. I really hadn't, honestly, until I hit my early mid 30s, which was after we graduated. It didn't all like really hit me. It's kind of like I put it in storage and then I had to go to the storage to take the storage out. And then I was like, oh my God, that happened. What am I going to do with all this shit? And it would come out of relationships. It would come out in my relationships. And I'd be like, why am I so angry? Why am I slamming doors on him? Why am I, you know, don't trust him? Why, you know, and it, again, like, it was a very long, very, very, very long process to get where I am now. And so I wouldn't have known, you know, to share yet. I wasn't there yet, because you know what was my coping mechanism? I was um I was so like wanting to be an actor so badly. Like I wanted to be like famous, and by the time we graduated I was already working, and that was going to be my escape. And so everything was like pushed down, which I would never say about myself because I'm the most emotive, I don't like right now, I don't do that now. But I really wasn't there yet. And I just knew I was in a lot of pain. That's all I knew. And I was scared of being a shitty actor, which is so funny now. And graduating, I, like a year or two after, I was like, getting skinny and looking hot. And then what you do for, again, survival is you latch on to whatever serves your ego in that moment. And it's always short term. It's always short term. It's like during this pandemic, I've been like, I'm going to buy that gorgeous purse and then I'll feel better. No, you won't. You're just going to have less money. So it was a coping mechanism. I was like, oh, I'm so pretty and I get a lot of attention. But then other times I'd be like, oh, I'm so ugly. Because that was another thing about my childhood. Like, it was like, you're the best, you're amazing, you're going to be anything. And then it was like 2 days later, you're awful, you're a loser, you can't get it, you're not smart, you're slow. My mom would tell her friends, like, Beth is our slow one.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you. It's just like nonstop, So you're getting these messages throughout your life, right? Because you're like a blank chalkboard, and your family are the ones who are writing little things, little messages on your board, and your friends and your teachers. And, so as that builds up over time, you're like, oh, this is who I am, because that's what these people have told me. And then you have to like literally shed yourself of all of it, because it's really what they think and it's not true. And whenever my mom talks to me about her, like whenever I tell her something about me, and we've gotten into 2 fights in the last week, but the funny thing is, since my dad died, we were getting along actually pretty well, which was very surprising, and I knew it was going to end at some point. But the last 2 arguments we got into, when I share with her, like I said, I'll just forget that, a billion times she's shown me that I can't be open with her, I can't share with her, I can't expose my underbelly. I mean, it's basically Charlie Brown and Lucy with the football. I keep thinking, oh, this time she's going to catch the ball, or this time I'm going to kick the ball. And so I told her recently that I want to try to have a baby, which is a really big deal because I'm ancient and I probably have 1 egg left. And it's probably hard boiled. So, and I know that I had a lot of stuff to work through. I'm still worried about that, but I have a really, really, really solid partner. I treat my dogs and cat like they were born out of gold. They have the best lives. I treat my boyfriend like he's the king of the world. So I'll see, we'll see if it's meant to be. And naturally, I already know there's really small percentage. So, we would probably look at like the egg donor thing and the IVF thing. But again, like I have nothing to hide. I'm not afraid to talk about it because I know so many people need to talk about these things. I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one. And if I could help anyone, make anybody feel better and stop the stigma of all these stupid fucking things that there's no reason to be quiet about, because we're all human and we all shit and we all bleed, and it's so stupid. It's like racism. It's so stupid. It's such a waste of time. It is a waste of time. And that angers me, and I could get into that, but that's another story. But I went way off the rails, but I don't know where we were. Way off the rails.
I'm on it. The second question was, how did your dad react to your mother's violence?
Amazing. Thank you. I used to describe it as my mom was the bank robber and my dad drove the car. That's how I used to describe it. Like, he allowed it to happen. He was like an enabler. And I think she had him so wrapped around, wait, she was so wrapped around his finger, or is it the other way around? I can't remember.
It sounds like the other way around.
Right. So he like was obsessed with my mom, and my mom was gorgeous. And he was like a short Jewish kid who had like a cleft palate and was like bullied all throughout his childhood, and then became this, very successful, brilliant, steady hand, like the steadiest hand that was out there, surgeon. And so his, his insecurity was about like how he looked and if he was a handsome guy, even though he literally never once talked about it. But I knew that about him. And my mom, she was, you could say she was a trophy wife, but not really, because they met in surgery and she was a nurse. So she made her, she did her own thing. But yeah, there were times when he stuck up for me. And then there were more than not times where he sided with her. And then they would both attack me. And it was bad. It was bad. So, when my dad passed, I had to make peace with that too. I had this feeling like, I'm going to feel fine. Like, I literally was like, I'm going to feel fine. I'm not going to cry because, he didn't really believe in me. He didn't think I was going to make it as an actor. He kept saying like, well, we don't know anybody, but he was always a really funny guy. My dad was very funny. And, I had all of this pain from that relationship of like, he wasn't a mushy dad. I'm not really mad about that because he had to tell people their mother, father, child wasn't going to make it. And that's a really fucking hard job to have, where you're saving lives and then losing lives and then saving, that's an up and down other version of comedy. I mean, way other version, but it's an up and down life. And, I always loved his consistency though. My dad was consistent because our mom was like all over the fucking map. And my dad was really an anchor for her. And he was, unfortunately, he wasn't an anchor enough to, she probably just needed a lot of meds and therapy. But anyway, when he did side with me, it felt good. And he would say to her, Gail, enough. Or Gail, you're wrong. This time you're wrong. Or enough,
Mm-hmm.
And there were times when he really, because he was more rational than my mom, for sure. Like I could get into a political discussion with my dad and it would be super calm. And even if we didn't agree, we would never get in a fight. He would just be like, this is what I think. This is what you think, And so thank God I had that from him, because that gave me a form and a sense of grounded and rationality that I got from, because I saw that in my dad and I loved that quality in him. But, then my mom would have to say like, hug your daughter, like remind him to hug me. But, I knew, looking back now, I was mad at him for a long time for that, like not being a loving dad. But now I've really fully forgiven that, because, you have to put yourself in that person's shoes and think about like, what was his daily life like? I mean, he'd be on his feet for 12, 14 hours, surgeries. That's a really tough life. And then still have 3 children and a wife at home who wants to kill herself. And no, I'm kidding. She never wanted to kill herself, unfortunately. No, I'm kidding. So she's like, I'm the best. I'm like, okay, you are great. So yeah, so sometimes he stuck up for me and sometimes he didn't. And it sucked. It really sucked when he didn't.
What was the dynamic between your brother and your sister? Do you have any other siblings besides your brother and your sister?
No, just the 3
So
of them.
was one of them could do no wrong?
Hold on a second. Did I do this? Oh, fuck. Sorry.
Do we have a new president?
No, what that was, not yet. What that was the car alarm went off, and I thought it was because I hit the table so hard that it hit the key thing.
Well,
It was going annoying. That's it.
Well, I can see, I see the anger now, now in retrospect, thinking back there, yeah, I can see that there was some underlying rage.
There was, yeah, 100%.
So my question was, were each of the children treated differently? Was there one that could do more?
We do think that. My sister and I have talked about that. We were treated differently.
That I wonder, do you think that your mother was borderline?
I think so. Yeah, that's what we've talked about. I do. And I don't, it's weird. Like, I did look it up. I tried to do some research and it still didn't make any sense to me. But now I think I need to, just delve in a little bit, because I think the more you know, the less, again, it's like my dad with, working 14 hours and the emotional thing he had to shut down. And so he'd come home and like, then it wasn't available, and that's okay. It was what it was. And, but I think my mom is borderline, and I've got to do more research on that. But yeah, was I telling you something else about my mom? Something borderline, something before that. I can't remember, but
no, I was just asking about your brother and your sister, how
right,
treated. Thanks
for keeping us on track. It's like Anderson Cooper. I'm keeping you honest. So
you're my Kathy Griffin.
Oh, thanks. I mean, she has a good career. My sister, I think, had a different experience. I think she definitely dealt with trauma too, without a doubt. I mean, if this woman was your mom, there was no way around it. But because she was the baby and my mom was busy at that time, I'm not even sure what she was doing at that time. But there was a time when I was at school, in high school. I was at boarding school, and my brother was in high school. And then he was going off to college. So there was a number of years where my sister was by herself, and they also just treated her differently. They, my sister
Did she get the knife?
No, never.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is, like, she came across, I really think it has a lot to do with the fact that I did have ADHD, but they would never have known that, which doesn't still make their behavior at all good or right. But that affected how I did things. It affected how late I was. I was always the last one to get out of the house. I was always the last one to get ready. They yelled at me. They got angry with me. I was the slow one. I was the frustrating one. I was the rebel. And, it had everything to do with what I had, because the H stands for hyper, and it doesn't mean you're hyper. It means your decisions are hyper. And I made a lot of hyper decisions. And in those decisions, I was a bad kid. I was a rebel. I wasn't listening, or I would do something to sabotage something. For my sister, she didn't really have that. And I don't think she has ADHD. I think she has, I don't know what she has. She probably has some anxiety. There's no way you couldn't, growing up how we grew up. But she, no, I think she had a lot of time being able to be by herself. And also being the youngest, they just kind of trust you. And also at that point, you've had 3 kids. Now I'm labeled the idiot of the family. So there's no way that, I mean, they fought, they had their stuff without a doubt. But we always say that we had different parents. We do say that.
Right. And I hear that's common with children of borderline parents.
Yeah. And my mom compared us like all the time. She still does. She still does that. She'll be like, Jules did this and you didn't, and I'm
she
like,
triangulates.
Is that what it is? I didn't know that's what
kind of play each sibling against each other.
Yes, she did that in our childhood. She did that.
Right.
And my brother, I would say he's definitely damaged. I'd say him and I are probably more damaged than our sister. The funny thing is my sister became a healer and she's a healer in LA or in Pasadena is where she lives. But She has all these famous clients. It's so cool. She knows more famous people than I do, and I went into acting. But yeah, I think with my brother, you know, because of patriarchy and because of things the way they were, he was the boy, he was the oldest. So there were a lot of things that they let him slide on. And then, you know, when he did get in trouble, um, you know, I just don't think it was as traumatic every time. But there was a time when my mom was yelling in his face. I remember I was setting the table for dinner and she was cooking. And she'd always be so angry if she hadn't heard from my dad for a long time. And again, no beepers. Oh, I think he had a beeper, but there was really no, she was just probably waiting for phone call. You know, I don't know. I don't know what the dynamic was, but I'm imagining it wasn't ideal for her.
Do you think she was worried that he was having an affair or something? Was that?
I'm sure that was the thing in the back of her mind, but she never really expressed that. But for sure, you know, I think that they also had their, I mean, without a doubt, they had a lot of stuff. But I think my mom would take her anger out, you know, in the kitchen. And she's an amazing cook. I mean, like, she could open up a restaurant. Like, she's a phenomenal cook. But we would hear the clinking, clanging of the pots. And whenever we heard that, we were like, uh-oh.
She was rage cooking.
Rage cooking. So she's like yelling at my brother in the corner of the kitchen. I have no idea why. I still don't remember. And I'm standing by the table. And of course, I start crying. My sister's in the other room. And my brother I'm looking, I'm like, what is he going to do? And she's like, Cujo, like, rah, 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 in his face. And he grabs grabs the French bread behind him and he hits her on the head with it. It was hilarious. It was like out of a Peter Sellers movie. And then he ran out the door and I don't know what fucking happened after that. I don't remember. I don't know if he left. I don't know if he came back.
She didn't try to bite him though.
No.
Okay.
No. But she definitely had very severe effects on all three of us.
When she bit you, did she draw blood or was it just like?
Yeah, I had a little bit of blood. It was
holy shit. What did you say?
It wasn't
like, what the fuck are you doing?
But it was like, yeah, you know, when you've been abused since you were a kid, it doesn't happen like that. You know, it's not like, you know, you're freaked out, you're scared, you're scared, you're in fight or flight at this point. So, you know, if that happened to me right now, I'd be able to have a moment of like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, I'd have to like defend myself. But, you know, when you're a kid and you're like, yeah, I must be bad, I must be wrong, I must have done something so bad that I deserved that. But, you know, instinctively, you know, it's not good, it's not okay. You know, and, you know, I mean, there was just so many traumatic stories, and not all of them were my mom doing something directly to us. Like one time she was sleeping and my sister almost drowned and I saved my sister's life. She was taking a nap while we were all in the swimming pool. I mean, like, just, you know, neglect and just,
right.
You know, but and then, you know, before you know it, the ambulance is there, the whole fucking neighborhood's there, and my mom was a nurse, so she could perform mouth to mouth on my sister, you know, save my sister's life. But, you know, you have to like think about how many traumatic situations can you handle before you're even like 15, 16, 17, 20. And then it's going to take you another 10, 15, 20 years to process it. And what happens is it's a mind fuck. It's just like Trump. It's the same fucking thing. Because we keep thinking like, wait, are we the crazy ones? Right? It's the same. It's the same kind of abusive relationship. And he did it with a whole fucking country. I mean, that's great. That's on such a massive level, but it's so doable. Narcissists are so fucking dangerous. I swear to God, they should all be jailed. I'm sure there's a tiny bit in me, you know, being that I'm on stage or something. Thank God my therapist was like, you're not a narcissist. So I was like, are you sure? Because I don't want to be. yeah, it's the same kind of thing where, you get gaslit and you start questioning and you're like, well, I must be such a bad kid. I must have done really bad stuff to deserve that, but then your gut is going, that doesn't feel right. Your gut, you have to listen to your gut. But then you've been told your gut is wrong. So now you need to hit 30, 35, 40 to go, oh no, my gut was right. My mom's a monster. She's never going to admit it. I spent a lot of time yelling at her, begging her, telling her, you hurt me. You continue to hurt me. I can't even I've not gotten there yet, but I'm trying. But once in a while, I'm a genius at it. Once in a while, my mom will call and I can just hear it in her voice. I already know what's coming. And I can do oh, you know what? I forgot. I got to go pick up this thing. And then I go, love you, Mom. Bye. And when I'm really good at that, it's awesome because I know I'm still being loving. I'm not being an awful daughter. I'm not cutting her off. But I'm also saving myself because how much can I take?
So you're creating boundaries.
Oh yeah, I have been for a while. But then you'll go 7-8 months in a pandemic. Your dad passed just a year ago and you've had all of these good conversations. So all of a sudden it's been almost a year, more than a year since my dad died. And I'm thinking, wow, our relationships changed. And nope. Then cut to last week and then this week. And it doesn't, it's unfortunate. It just doesn't go away. I mean, she did start taking Zoloft. When my dad was very stubborn and he would not use the walker and he fell a shit ton of times before he passed. And we had to go to the hospital and talk to the doctor with my brother on speakerphone. By the way, my brother's also a doctor. There's literally 5 doctors in my family. It's crazy. And nurses, and I'm the comedian. My sister's the healer. We're all healers. So my
But you heal through comedy.
Totally. Yeah. Laughter is medicine. So we had my dad put his hand up and say, I solemnly swear I will use the walker. I won't drive the car. We had to take away all of these. He's such an independent man, my dad, so what a painful thing for him. And then my mom, we're sitting there talking to the doctor. And I say very bravely in front of everyone, doctor, is there some way that we can get some kind of antidepressant for my mom? She's been taking care of my dad. She's a wreck. There's no time for her. P.S. Childhood was not great. She needs something. And I said all of that right in front of her. And I could see her face. She was not happy about it. She wanted to chop my head off. But I'm not afraid of her now. I mean, I'm really not. I don't think I'll ever be able to be in the house with her alone ever again unless Kevin's there. I just don't feel safe, even if I am a grown woman. My mother is an abuser, 100%. She's an abuser. And that's the other thing. Now we can say Trump is a dictator, right? But we were watching it. We were like, wait, is he? Wait, what? Can he get away with that? What? And we're just watching it happen over the course of 4 years. And now people are like, how can he do this? And we've been fucking watching him do it. We've been watching him, this psychopath fascist butterfly come out of the fucking cocoon. And unfortunately, butterfly is not an ideal analogy because butterflies are lovely. But my mom did the same thing. It was just wait, is she doing that? It's just because it's your mother. It's your mom. Just like he's the president of the United States. You never want to think that your mom is this monster. And we definitely don't want to think we have a fascist, Hitler type person in America where we grew up with, talking to our Republican friends and going, yeah, I don't agree with that, but want to go grab drinks? We didn't. I mean, my roommate in college, she's still a staunch Republican, and I'm certain she voted for Trump. And I'm just like, am I supposed to cut off this friend, my roommate from college, who I've known, over 20 years? She's one of my best friends, because she's dumb right now. She's dumb right now. And also, I've said this to Kevin, like, if they're pro-life to the point where, or they're pro-economy and money, and they have it in their heads that Trump is going to make them rich, and for whatever reason, meanwhile, we're in a total depression, and, he doesn't think science is real. But, like, if people are like, I'm so pro-life that I'm willing to see everything else go to shit. How fucking crazy is that? Think about it. If you're pro-gun and you're anti-climate, if you're a climate denier, and if you're a science denier, when you add up all that death, it's way more than however many babies are not going to be kept, or however many babies are going to get aborted. And also, it's a choice. Again, it's a choice. So it's not like people don't want to have the baby. It's a sick thing. But, that the reason I compare it to my mom is because I just, this whole thing is like, oh my God, it's like watching it on a grand level. Because
it is. I think it's a great analogy, because America is one big abusive family.
It is 100%. 100%. We're not nice to the disabled. We're not nice to people of color. We're not, if you're different from me, or if you don't go along with the crowd, if you don't go my way or the highway with dad or whatever, you're going to get hurt. It's going to affect you, or they're going to cut you off, or, whatever it is. But I don't know. I mean, I really want to write a book about it.
You should.
I skim, I'm not skim, but like, I say I skim the surface, but I do talk a lot about growing up in a Southern Baptist Jewish home, but being raised Jewish. I have jokes about that, but really the bulk of my material, I'd say in the last few years, has been more about anxiety and mental health. And I think now I just wrote a whole bunch of new stuff about, living with your partner during a pandemic, and it's mostly light-hearted. It's like we've scared each other 8 times and we're the only 2 humans in this house. But like, just stuff like that, which I think the best stuff is not the dark stuff. I love dark humor, don't get me wrong, but if it comes from a deeper, darker place, and then you talk about subjects that are a little bit more light fare, it can be hilarious. So I'm trying, I'm still kind of finding, I wouldn't say I'm finding my voice, because I think I know my voice in comedy, but I think that as soon as I can, as soon as we get a fucking vaccine, I want to record my first comedy album. That's what I really want to do. Did I answer a question you didn't even get to ask yet?
No, I mean, that's that's beautiful. I hope you do write a book, and I'm looking forward to the comedy album. What time is it? I just want to check the time.
It's like the next day.
It's already Friday?
No, I've been talking so much that it's probably the next day. I'm joking. I don't know what time it is. Let me look.
Hey Siri, what time is it?
Oh, it's like 9 o'clock.
It's 9:07 p.m.
So,
You've been here for what, 2 hours? Jesus, I'm sorry.
No, about an hour and a half. So I do, I'm thinking I'm really fascinated, and I'm fascinated because it's amazing to me that we spent so much time together. We had a lot of intimate time, like as an acting class, sharing all our, we did a lot of sense memory of traumatic things that had happened to us. And it's amazing that, I don't know why we didn't get a chance to talk about all these things. And like, I had no idea all these things had happened and the trauma you'd experienced. And I'm just so grateful that, so many years later, we've been able to reconnect, and I've been able to hear what's alive and within you, and after all this time, it's really, I'm really honored to be here and to hear all these things.
I'm so happy you reached out because I was like, oh my God, I love this guy. I always loved him in school. You were always so sweet, really, always, always, and so funny. I mean, I remember Sarah and I would laugh so hard at stuff you would do. You just had such a funny, dark, and you have a dark sense of humor too.
The hammer, right? Is that what you're thinking
I
about?
will never forget the hammer. It's still one of the funniest things ever. It's so funny. I love it. It's
He's
so
like,
funny.
why? Lou, our act. She's like, why are you bringing a fucking hammer in here? What's?
One thing that happened with Blue with me was I kept coming in too scared to do a jump. And I didn't know why I was so scared. Now it makes sense. I was so scared. I was like, I couldn't do it. I couldn't come to class prepared. I was just so scared. And one day he said to me, don't come to class tomorrow if you don't bring something.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he really said that? Wow,
Really
that's
said that.
intense.
Well, he said it in a loving way. Like, you got into this school, you can do this, you have talent. Like, he said it in a more loving way than I just said it. But, I would be like, for whatever reason, I would bring up stuff about my dad. I don't remember about that stuff. And he'd be like, I'm not your dad. And he'd be like, I believe in you, bring something. And then I did. And then I got a chance to play some amazing roles that year.
Yeah.
Great.
I
But you
remember
were
you
great.
in Mar-a-Lago. That was, you were really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a wonderful performance, and that was a wonderful experience to be. How we were so, the synergy was just so good,
It was.
and that was such a memorable experience, and I think Lou was really proud of us.
He
Er,
was.
Yeah.
He was. And, I kind of wish, I mean, now we have all this technology and like it'd be easier to just, film it and watch it. But I have a VHS tape somewhere with it.
I remember that. Did you digitize it?
No, I have it somewhere still. It's like in a
Okay.
bag somewhere and I have to find it. But I definitely have it. And because I want to see it so badly, not because of my performance, because of everyone else's performance, because I was so entrenched in that character that I didn't really get to see everyone else's performances. And I know that everybody in our class was immensely talented. So I really want to see if I can get that thing, and I want to watch it. I want to see what everybody did in their parts, because I was so like, doing Simone, and that required full attention
Yeah.
with that character. So I couldn't really, I was like Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like deeply entrenched in my role. So
Yeah, yeah, it was amazing to watch. I hope you find it. It would be wonderful to
yeah,
see
I'll
that.
find it, because we're actually like trying to clear out stuff, and I mean, I know I have it, so I promise to let you know about that. Because that
Thank
would be
you.
great to send everybody. That'd be fun to send everyone.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking of maybe we should do, like, I want to do a podcast where maybe we reunite and get everybody
I love
together,
it. I
and,
love it.
and just talk about all the shit we went through. And
We should,
uh
because it was such a momentous time in our lives. We absolutely should.
yeah, I mean, I was talking to Sarah about this. I mean, I really feel like we were a family.
Hmm.
And I have not had that. I mean, I went to UCLA, and I got my master's in directing after Cal Arts,
I
and
remember that. Yeah, that's amazing.
and I did not feel that there.
Yeah,
That was not. I did not feel like I was in a family at all.
yeah.
It was a totally different experience, and but I felt it at Cal Arts and in our class. And I think it was partly because of all the intimate things we had to share.
I think so too.
And everything that we had to work through emotionally and all our, I mean, essentially they were trying to get rid of our bad habits. And part of that was, recognizing them and
Right.
realizing that and dealing with it. And
Somebody listening, sorry, this is my cat.
your cat?
Yeah, this is Fiona Apple. We named him Fiona Apple, and then we took him to the vet, and the vet pointed out his balls, and I was like, oh, okay, we're gonna have to switch it to Fiona.
That worked out well. That's an easy, just change the vowel and
Exactly.
it's masculine.
What's funny is I just picked up one of my dogs the other day at the vet, and I looked down at the receipt, and on the bottom it says Fiona, and the O is capitalized. I don't know why. They must have been like, it's not Fiona, it's Fiona. And she's like, okay, I'll put a capital letter there. But yes, I miss our class. I feel like we were very close. We did go through a lot of emotional stuff there. Obviously it didn't even scratch the surface of my stuff yet because I wasn't ready to share it. And I was probably not even processing it. Like I said, it was probably just sitting in storage until I was ready to talk about it. But I feel like while we were at Cal Arts, I was still very much like an open vein, in a lot of ways. And it was very healing for me. But I wanted everybody to love me and like me. And I wanted all of us to be, the best we could be. And I think we did have that, though. I really believe we all believed in each other. I do.
Yeah, we definitely supported each other and encouraged each other in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes, actors can get, it can become sometimes be toxic, but I don't think we went there,
No. I felt like Shiver was very, arrogant a lot at times, and so was Wit sometimes. But
Right.
at the end of the day, they were just really learning how to carry themselves in this world we were in. And so now, from this perspective, that was their coping mechanisms, and but they were talented, no question
Right.
about it. But yeah, that always like turned me off in terms of like being friends with them. It just like was like but I was
Yeah.
older at that point, you know what I mean? I was like, whatever, we'll see what you're doing in the real world. Like, this is just school, we're learning, we're in school, we don't know what's gonna happen. And sorry, my cat wants to go out the window. I mean, not like forever, just
That would have been a weird end of the podcast. Yet your cat commits caticide.
Caticide. That's good. No, I think to this day, I think everybody in our class just so fucking talented. Everybody. And what I love about art and theater and acting and comedy is like there's never a time when you can't do it. Like there's not a deadline, I think society has told us all of these mistruths about, whoa, okay, he just did a somersault and fell on his back. Amazing. Can I just
You all right?
this moment, please? Do you mind? It's about me right now, Fiona. About me, not you, even though I've been talking for like 2 hours. So damn it, what was I saying? I don't know.
Oh, we were just talking about you were just saying we're talking about our class and
yeah, I would want all of us to still be doing it, still be working and acting, doing comedy or writing or whatever. But what I love about it is it's timeless, and you can do whatever you want with it. It's not like I don't know. I just always felt like more of us would be still doing it now, you know, it sounds like doing it, like having sex. But no, performing and, you know, pursuing a career in it. Because like Matthew Dittman is so fucking funny, and he
Yeah, I
did
know.
comedy for like 5 seconds, and he should have stuck with it because he's brilliant. And I could see him on Saturday Night Live easily. I mean, I do stand up. That's what I do now, and I know his talent from, you know, the 90s. So I know
Yeah.
how funny he is, and we all know.
For those listening, Matthew Dittman was in our acting class, and I was also his roommate for many years.
Really?
Yeah.
I should know that. I don't know why I forgot that.
You know, it was odd because I was thinking about this before the podcast because Matt and I lived together after CalArts. When I was in graduate school, we lived together, and then when I got out and I went into worked in the adult film industry, he was also my roommate.
We don't have enough time. I mean, I could talk to you about that for like a whole other hour. Because I really, really want to know about how you went that route. I mean, it's hilarious.
Well, I'll tell you just briefly that I'll just tell you the one thing. The reason I went into it was fear. Oh. And because I knew what happened was I learned the first year at CalArts that I was losing my eyesight. That was when I was told I was losing my eyesight.
Well, that's huge and scary, and I'm so sorry. That's terrifying.
It sucks, but you know, that it's just what something I got to deal with. But what I was going to say so that's the year I learned about it. And then I was told at the time, I asked the ophthalmologist, I said, how much useful vision will I have? How long will I be able to drive and all that kind of stuff? And he said, oh, in your 50s. And so I'm thinking like, fuck, you know, that's a lot of time. I'll be able to do whatever, you know, I'll be able to act for a long time. Right. And then I started, even being at CalArts, I started to realize it wasn't going to last that long. And then when I got into graduate school, at the end of it in 2004, I had a shift, and I was like, it's going faster than I thought. And then I got out and I like worked at Starbucks and then worked at selling TV shows for syndication. And I was like really depressed. And I said, fuck, it's not going to last that long. I have to do something. And so I made a real fear-based decision, and I went into the adult film industry, and that's how I got there. And so what I'm thinking of tell me what you think. I would love to do a part 2 because I want to explore the transition from all the trauma into how you use the trauma to inform your acting and your comedy.
I'd love that.
So why don't we schedule something for like either December or January?
That's great. I'd love that.
So before we go, and I just want to say once again, I am so grateful that you were willing to do this because it's so beautiful to know you, know more about you after all this fucking time, because like, I mean, we had those intimate moments at CalArts, but this is so much deeper and beautiful. And thank you for doing this.
Of course. Thank you for asking me. I love that you're doing this. And I feel, you know, the same way you feel. I mean, I didn't know that this was happening with you, and that's major. I mean, those are 2 of your major senses. I mean, you need to see, you need to hear. Those are scary things to find out when you're in theater school, and this is like what you want to do for the rest of your life. And you need both of those to do it. So, you know, I didn't know that either. So I'm so sorry that, you know, I'm sad that I didn't know, and I'm sorry that you've had to endure that. That's such
I mean, what I'm sad about is I didn't know that you had gone through all that. And it's amazing that we can share like what we shared at CalArts and then not know anything about each other.
I know. It's true. We did share a lot. Sorry, my cat is like for some insane reason, like deciding to attack me right now, probably wants food.
Well, I think your cat wants you to be present, and I'll let you go. But before we disconnect, is there anything you're working on? Where's your next comedy? Are you doing like the drive-in comedy?
We did do one. Here, hold on. Stop it. He's trying to bite my leg to play. So here, let me sit over here again, just because. Oh my God, sorry. Okay. So what I've been working on is I'm working on a pilot that is about all the jobs that I've been fired from. I was fired from like 10 jobs, probably more, but like these are day jobs, where anyway, that's a whole other thing. So I do stand up, of course. A lot of my comedy now, thanks to the pandemic, is on Zoom or Instagram. So if you want to watch my stand up, don't go to YouTube, because all my sets are old.
Okay.
I do have a set that's on Hulu. It's called Coming to the Stage, and it's from like 2015, but it's still like not a terrible set. I'm a much better comic because it's been 5 years, but it's yeah. So I did a drive-in show at the Santa Cruz Comedy Festival with my boyfriend, who's a comedian and very, very funny. Not as funny as me, but very, very funny.
Funny enough, right?
Yeah. He's actually more successful than me. He's pretty successful. But anyway, so we did a drive-in comedy festival back in the beginning of October. And so like a month ago, and it was really, really fun. And the cars all beeped to laugh, and at night they would like flash their lights and beep, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was just surreal and weird, but pandemic story worthy,
Right.
So
So if anybody who's listening or watching wants to find you, they go to Merrill Davis Instagram.
Yeah, you can go to my Twitter is at Merrill Davis, 2 R's, 2 L's. And my Instagram is probably where I spend the most of my social media time. I post a lot about whatever it is I'm doing. So if you want to see me on a show, or you want to know what I'm up to, right now I'm on a podcast that's hilarious. It's a narrative podcast. It's like not like serial, because it's not a drama, it's a comedy. The guy who hosts it is, I mean, hands down one of the funniest comedians and people that I've ever met in my life. He's fucking hilarious. He was in the Groundlings a long time ago.
What's his name?
His name is Christian Duguay, and it's
Okay.
spelled Duguay. But anyway, the podcast is called Valley Heat, and it's about these minor crimes that he's trying to solve and figure out in Burbank, California, in his neighborhood. And he does all the music. He does all these commercials that are fake, and they're fucking hilarious. And
So
then,
is it kind of like a radio show, like comedy noir type thing?
I don't know how it would get categorized. I guess it's a story about yeah, I guess so. Like right now, it's a story about a guy who like is his pool guy, and he thinks his pool guy puts drugs in his garbage can to like, he uses his garbage can as a drug drop.
Okay.
And so my boyfriend plays a DEA agent who's now, on the surveillance of it all. And I play his mom. I play my boyfriend's mom, who has nothing to do
How does
with
that
it.
play out in your relationship? That's
Oh
interesting.
no, we just think it's hilarious. so fun. You got to listen to Valley Heat. I got to tell you, you will laugh out loud. Like I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I love, I love all the, uh, like I do love all the narrative ones too, but this one's fucking hilarious. So, and the cool thing is, I thought we were just going to be on it like once, and now we've been on like 3 episodes. So I guess we'll get to keep doing it. And
Are you there? Your microphone just went
oh no,
cold.
oh no. How about now? Let's see.
It's better. I think it's brushing up against your clothing or
shoot.
your cat.
Okay. Oh, sorry. How about now?
You're fine now.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, Valley Heat is something I'm doing right now. I highly recommend listening. It's super funny. The commercials are hilarious. He does like all the music, and he has a band that he made up called Cephalopods Are People. I don't know what that means. So it's pretty great. And then what else? So normally I'd be able to tell you all these shows I'm doing, but with the pandemic, it's different. But if you go to my Instagram, it's at Merrill on the wall. It's 2 R's, 2 L's, both
I
times.
like that.
Thank you. And I post a lot of, I mean, I let everybody know what I'm up to. So if you want to, know what I'm up to, that's what I'm up to. I'm there.
All right. Everybody, this is Merrill Davis. I thank you so much for being here, and tune in for the next episode. We're going to talk about the nude photos that she mentioned that we didn't really discuss.
I totally forgot about that. Like I'm going to have to do some mind searching, like go back in the head and go, what? Wait.
Just remember, it happened in front of Jamba Juice.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah.
Jeez,
Yeah. We'll talk about it the next episode, but
that is hilarious.
So it was an honor. I love you.
I love you. I love talking to you.
Yeah. Let's do it again.
Lifetime family, in that our experience there, no one will ever have us, our class, and the people we went to school with.
You cut out right when the most important part of what you were saying. Is your cat on top of you? What is happening?
It's my fault. I keep sitting back thinking I can just put the laptop on my lap. I can't.
Okay.
So I was saying that this memory we all have of going to CalArts, and the relationships and the roles we played and the experiences we had, we're always gonna have that. That's something we'll always have, and it's so special. I'm so proud. Like when I met my boyfriend, he was like, "You went to CalArts?" It was like, wow, like he just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's a good school. Like it's not Harvard, But
Right.
now I think back and I'm like, he's right. Like what? Like I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm so as scared as I was, as anxious as I was, as I thought I was like a terrible actor. I thought everybody could see right through me. I thought I was just terrible. But I did it anyway, and I went to class every day, and I love you, and I love everybody from our class. I think we went through a lot, and it's really special. Really special.
Thank you for being on. I love you, Merrill. And let's do it again. And now we're going to have a really awkward ending. So
Okay.
I have to. So hold on 1 second while I work this out.
Awkward is my middle name. It's actually my first name. Awkward. I'm Awkward Davis.
Awkward Merrill.
Awkward Merrill Davis.
Oops. Wait.